Hello friends, Garygoyles and fellow poets, welcome back to the channel. Recently Taylor Swift announced her new album at the Grammys called The Tortured Poets Department, and it got me thinking, is Taylor Swift a tortured poet like the rest of us? Well, I don't know about the tortured part, but it turns out she is indeed a poet, so let's talk about it. When a celebrity announces a poetry collection, or it turns out that they've previously written poetry, my stomach knots, either with panic or with excitement. That being said, Taylor is an extremely accomplished songwriter, and as I've already previously reviewed a songwriter's collection of poetry, stay until the end of the video to find out more about that. I'm glad to say that I was actually excited to delve into Taylor's poems. It's actually great that the title of Taylor's new album mentions poets. Just exposure to the word and the notion of poets and poetry goes a long way in bringing more people and more eyes to the craft of writing poetry, so we have to thank her for that. Whether the album itself focuses on poets, like poets as people, I very much doubt it, but just being in the title is a good thing. Also, Taylor Swift is most probably the most famous person in the world right now. I mean, I'm no Swiftie, though I can neither confirm nor deny that some of her songs have found their way onto my playlist. But I can't go a day without seeing something about her and her new beau on one of my feeds. It's kind of getting annoying. I'm not an NFL follower. I prefer my football to be played with the foot. And I really have no business knowing the ins and outs of someone else's relationship. But having someone this popular mentioning poets is a big win for us. Right, let's get into it. To begin with, I have to say I am very thankful to the website Taylor Swift Switzerland, who compiled all of her poems in one place, and I'm very grateful to my subscriber Nikki, who did confirm that these were in fact legit Taylor Swift poems, and for also giving me some information that will be shared towards the end of the video as well, so thank you so much. I can't remember if I stated whether or not I'd leave a link for the website Taylor Swift Switzerland in the description down below, so if I didn't, that's what I'm gonna do. First, let's take a look at a poem that, according to the website, Taylor wrote when she was just 10 years old, and it won a national poetry competition. A monster in my closet. There's a monster in my closet and I don't know what to do. Have you ever seen him? Has he ever pounced on you? I wonder what he looks like. Is he purple with red eyes? I wonder what he likes to eat. What about his size? Tonight I'm gonna catch him. I'll set a real big trap. Then I'll train him really well. He'll answer when I clap. When I looked up in that closet, there was nothing there but stuff. I know that monster's in there. I heard him huff and puff. Could it be he wants to eat me? Maybe I'm his favourite tray. And if he comes to get me, I'll scream loudly, "Go away!" If he's nice, I'll name him Happy. If he's bad, I'll name him Grouch. I suspect that he is leaving, but if not, I'll kick him out. Can you believe she wrote that at 10 years old? Like, damn. I was considering writing children's poem. That had a very Dr. Zeus feel to it, didn't it? I was considering writing children's poetry for a while. In fact, I've got a whole document and lots of things planned out and all the animals that I would use as metaphors and stuff and as characters, but I never got round to it. Next we have a poem called Lindsay CLA. A poem Swift wrote to her 5th grade teacher who was at the time pregnant. As a Brit, our school system is a little bit different, so I'm not sure how old that would make her if she's in 5th grade, but if you know, please do let me know in the comments down below. Whoa. I don't know what happened there, so many rhymes. But if you do know how old she would have been in 5th grade, please let me know in the comments downwards, down below. Yeah. Lindsay CLA. Smiling in the sunlight, her eyes were wide open. A kind and thankful mother was sitting at her side. Her head was full of wonder, her heart was full of love. This baby must be what God called a gift from up above. With skin as soft as satin, and wonders of the world, unique and special she will be, a lovely gentle girl. I thank God now for making her, and with the world he'll share a precious little angel with the name of Lindsay CLA. I am so impressed by Taylor's grasp of rhyme and metre, even at such a young age. No wonder she's gone on to become the songwriter that she has and collected all the accolades that she has. How sweet to write your teacher such a poem. Next we have a poem that I assume was written much later. It feels more mature anyway, the theme is more mature. As Taylor Swift discusses her perceived flaws, that's a very teenager thing to do, I guess. Well, no. I still do that as an adult. But anyway, this poem was specifically written for Reputation magazine. If you're anything like me, you bite your nails and laugh when you're nervous. You promise people the world because that's what they want from you. You like giving them what they want, but darling, you need to stop. If you're anything like me, you knock on wood every time you make plans. You cross your fingers, hold your breath, wish on lucky numbers and eyelashes. Your superstitions were the lone survivors of the shipwreck. Rest in peace to your naive bravado. If life gets too good now, darling, it scares you. If you're anything like me, you never wanted to lock your door. Your secret garden gate or your diary drawer didn't want to face the you don't know anymore, for fear she was much better before. But darling, now you have to. If you're anything like me, there's a justice system in your head for names you'll never speak again, and you make your ruthless rulings. Each new enemy turns to steel, they become the bars that confine you in your own little golden prison cell. But darling, there is where you meet yourself. If you're anything like me, you've grown to hate your pride, to love your thighs, and no amount of friends at 25 will fill the empty seats at the lunch tables of your past, the teams that picked you last. But darling, you keep trying. If you're anything like me, you couldn't recognize the face of your love until they stripped you of your shiny paint, threw your victory flag away, and you saw the ones who wanted you anyway. Darling, later on you will thank your stars for that frightful day. If you're anything like me, I'm sorry. But darling, it's gonna be okay. Okay, now we're starting to enter the maturer themes. Although she has very clearly moved away from the every line must rhyme phase, she very clearly has a firm grasp on poetry writing and is still able to keep things flowing nicely whilst throwing in a mid-sentence rhyme here and there. Her enjambments also keeps the flow of the poem nice and tight. If you've been a subscriber or a follower of me for some time, you likely would have heard me say somewhere at some point, you would have heard me say that in my eyes what makes a poem is to have metre and a good flow to the poem, which Taylor Swift does. And also I say that the language must be heightened from everyday speech. It has to be distinguished, otherwise it's just everyday speech. The flow and the melody, which I guess as a songwriter and a musician comes naturally to Swift anyway. Anyway, I like the topic and the inward reflection and really great flow. Moving on, we have a poem called The Trick to Moving On. No pun intended there. Anyway, this one was written for British Vogue, exclusively for British Vogue, and is about resilience and lessons learned. Sorry, correction. My notes and my script is wrong. It's not the trick to moving on. It's the trick to holding on. I guess my brain sort of got confused because I started the segment with the words moving on. Anyway, the trick to holding on. Let go of the ones who hurt you. Let go of the ones you outgrow. Let go of the words they hurl your way as you're walking out the door. The only thing cut and dry in this hedge maze life is the fact that their words will cut, but your tears will dry. They don't tell you this when you are young. You can't hold on to everything. Can't show up for everyone. You pick your poison or your cure. Phone numbers you know by heart, and the ones you don't answer anymore. Hold on to the faint recognition in the eye of a stranger, as it catches you in its lustrous net. How quickly we become intertwined. How wonderful it is to forget. All the times your intuition failed you, but it hasn't killed you yet. Hold on to the childlike whims and moonlight swims, and your blazing self-respect. And if you drive the roads of this town, ones you've gone down so many times before, flash back to all the times life nearly ran you off the road. But tonight your hand is steady. Suddenly you'll know the trick to holding on was all that letting go. I am noticing that she enjoys repetition, which is a great tool, something that is used in many art forms, not just poetry. Again, a master's hold on rhyme schemes. Everything flows really nicely, and some really nice metaphors in that one too. I could definitely go from occasional listener to fan of Taylor Swift, the poet, if she were to ever focus on that. Turn her attention to poetry. As someone who started writing poetry so young, I could definitely see her taking it seriously and not just taking advantage of it because of the poetry boom. I think she'd do very well. Finally, we have a poem called Why She Disappeared, where Swift talks about the downfall of her reputation. I remember some time ago when Taylor Swift was in the news, yet again everywhere I looked, regarding her dating life was very much under the microscope. I guess not much has changed there either. Do we really not have anything better to be focused on than people's dating lives? Anyway, I do remember her getting quite a grilling because of that. And I found her Netflix documentary really interesting, and I believe she mentioned something about body shaming from the media in that as well. I haven't read the poem just yet, so perhaps those are some themes that are going to crop up in this one. We'll see. Why She Disappeared. When she fell apart. Cracked her bones on the pavement she once decorated as a child with sidewalk chalk. When she crashed, her clothes disintegrated and blew away with the winds that took all of her fair weather friends. When she looked around, her skin was spattered with ink, forming the words of 1,000 voices, echoes she heard even in her sleep. Whatever you say, it is not right. Whatever you do, it is not enough. Your kindness is fake. Your pain is manipulative. When she lay there on the ground, she dreamed of time machines and revenge and a love that was really something, not just the idea of something. When she finally rose, she rose slowly, avoiding old haunts and sidestepping shiny pennies, wary of phone calls and promises, charmers, dandies, and get-love-quick schemes. When she stood with a desolate knowingness, waded out into the dark, wild ocean up to her neck, bathed in her brokenness, said a prayer of gratitude for each chink in the armour she never knew she needed. Standing broad-shouldered next to her was a love that was really something, not just the idea of something. When she turned to go home, she heard the echoes of new words. May your heart remain breakable, but never by the same hand twice. And even louder, without your past, you could never have arrived, so wondrously and brutally, by design or some violent, exquisite happenstance. Here. And in the death of her reputation, she felt truly alive. So that one was also written for Reputation magazine, and this one I feel is quite separate from all of the others. I feel like this one takes some sitting with to understand fully. I mean, yes, you can probably get a very good idea of it, but there are some metaphors in there that, particularly towards the beginning, that you kind of have to sit with and ask yourself and analyze, right? Go line by line and ask yourself, okay, what's she really saying here? But for the most part, you can get a good understanding of what's being said. I also felt like reading that the flow of it is slightly broken, but not in a bad way. It's sort of broken and disjointed, which I would imagine was intentional, considering the poem is about sort of the downfall of her reputation and being broken as a person and then building yourself back up. Maybe I'm projecting that, but that's what it kind of felt like reading it through the first time. Also, I noticed that there weren't so many rhymes, which again kind of goes with the idea of it being broken, because rhymes can really kind of feel like can kind of package a poem. If you've got a rhyme scheme, it sort of feels nice, tight, worked and packaged. Without the rhyme schemes in here, which is very different from all the other poems we've read by Taylor Swift, also lends itself to that notion of kind of not being quite yourself and kind of being beaten down, to the ground, and then having to build yourself back up. There were, of course, some rhymes in there, but it didn't feel like a rhyme scheme by Taylor Swift, if that makes sense. Did I explain that well? We'll see. Let me know in the comments down below. Finally, my subscriber Nikki did mention that there is a poetry film out there that Taylor Swift would play during her tours, and she Nikki very kindly provided a link to it, so I thought it might be cool to watch it for the first time together and react to it. So I'm going to do that now, and then I'll see you on the other side of that. Okay, so this, apparently, according to Nikki, this little poetry film was played on her tour that led into a song. I'm not sure which song Nikki did say, but off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I have had a triple check to make sure that we're all good. I've got my earbuds in because for some reason the jack in the laptop isn't working. So we're going to give this a go, and hopefully this works. If you watch my last React video, we had some serious technical difficulties. But I haven't seen this yet, so we are watching it together. So let's go.
When she fell apart.
I think that... Wait, this might be the poem. I recognize that line. I think this poem might actually be one of the poems we've already read, potentially. I remember that line.
Cracked her bones on the pavement she once decorated as a child with sidewalk chalk.
So we actually know this poem. I've actually already read this poem in the video, but let's watch this anyway.
When she crashed, her clothes disintegrated and blew away with the winds that took all of her fair weather friends. When she looked around, her skin was spattered with ink, forming the words of 1,000 voices, echoes she heard even in her sleep. Whatever you say, it is not right. Whatever you do, it is not enough. Your kindness is fake. Your pain is manipulative. When she lay there on the ground, she dreamed of time machines and revenge and a love that was really something, not just the idea of something. When she finally rose, she rose slowly, avoiding old haunts and sidestepping shiny pennies.
You have to remember that just like poetry, in all art forms, nothing is ever random. So if you're watching this, ask yourself why they went with such a like a desert, dried up desert, I guess. I'm not sure that it is a desert. What is it? It's like dried up. Excuse me. It's like a dried up river, I think. Usually when you see that sort of soil, it's from like water used to be there once upon a time. I could probably completely wrong on that, but you know what I mean. Ask yourself why it was shot like this.
Pennies, wary of phone calls and promises, charmers, dandies, and get love quick schemes. When she stood with a desolate knowingness, waded out into the dark, wild ocean up to her neck, bathed in her brokenness. Said a prayer of gratitude for each chink in the armor she never knew she needed. Standing broad-shouldered next to her was a love that was really something, not just the idea of something.
I'm pretty sure this is the last poem that I read. I'm pretty sure, isn't it, guys? You can tell me in the comments. And if it was, then it was the poem about her reputation being broken down and building herself back up. So that might be why it was filmed in such a barren landscape. Again, remember I spoke about how the poem felt a little bit broken, but not in a bad way. And, you know, her reputation had been beaten so far down that she was basically starting from scratch again and building herself back up. So that might be the reason why it's in a barren landscape, and you've got the mountains in the background, and you know, mountains are normally used as for imagery of building yourself back up and being a strong person, right? So just something to think about.
When she turned to go home, she heard echoes of new words.
When she turned to go home, she heard echoes of new words and noticed how the landscape behind her wasn't so barren. There was the signs of new life.
May your heart remain breakable, but never by the same hand twice. And even louder, without your past, you could never have arrived so wondrously and brutally, by design or some violent, exquisite happenstance. Here.
Okay, I'm not sure what that pink X is. Maybe that's imagery on her album. And there's an X on the stage as well. I don't know. But again, you have to ask yourself, why that type of car? Why is there a pink X? Why is it? Oh. But I think that's the end of the video. So let's switch back into my video. But yeah, I thought it was kind of nice. I didn't realize it was the same poem, but that's okay. It was cool to kind of just get an idea, and it kind of completes this video, my video. So let's go back to on camera, normal camera. And that is it for this video, my friends. I hope you enjoyed it, and I would encourage you to check out the link in the description down below to go to the website Taylor Swift Switzerland and give Taylor's poems a read for yourselves. I'm sure you'll enjoy them. Clearly, Taylor has a hold. It feels weird saying Taylor as if I know her. Clearly, Taylor Swift does have a hold on the craft of poetry. She's very good at it. She's done it from such a young age, and I am very impressed with it. As I said at the start of this video, it's always 50-50 when a celebrity announces a poetry book or has written poetry. But if they're a songwriter, I guess it's safe to assume we're in good hands. Much like Lana Del Rey, whose collection and book of poetry I reviewed here. If by some weird circumstance you find yourself watching this Taylor Swift, then I demand a poetry collection from you too. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.